Hello, everybody. I am William of LOTW Studios. As always, we have another set of interviews with contestants from LEGO Masters Season 3. In this episode, we speak to exiting contestants Michelle and Christine and Jonathan and Xavier. And yeah, without further ado, I hope you enjoy the interviews, and yeah, here they are. Congratulations for getting this far into LEGO Masters. I think the competition is so strong because like everyone there is just absolutely amazing. And I know obviously in this week you were obviously struggling quite a lot to kind of come up with what you ended up coming up with. But then once I actually saw what you made, I was like, I really amazed by it. I thought it was incredible.
Oh,
Um, and
thank you.
yeah, so I guess my first question would be when it comes to going from doing anything at home and when you've got your own time and all that kind of stuff, and you're using your own Lego. What it's like from going from that to being in the studio and obviously having that sort of that really short time frame to come up with something.
It makes me want to up my game with the storage system, and variety. You have over 3,300 pieces, I think, and I have a variety, but I don't think it's as vast as that.
It was challenging because for me, I don't have too many pieces. So I'm used to getting extra creative with the part of the usage part. It was overwhelming to see that I have that amount of bricks. We were just dumping stuff in the bins. It just try to, I'm not used to building with a huge amount of Lego. So it was overwhelming. And the first episode, I think, was the worst one because of that, because you don't know where anything is, you don't know what's going on. This is the first challenge. So as you go on, you get to hang of everything, and you just um, understand better of the pieces placement and everything. But still, the fact that you have so little time, and as you all seen in episode 4, like if you don't have the idea right away, like the clock is just running and your time is limited, and it's como se dice, como una bola que va
A
subiendo, like
rolling ball, a snowball. It keeps snowballing.
exactly. So yeah, overwhelming, I would say.
Another thing that I often think about is the way that you go from working with with limitations of what you have, which I think is in itself a really creative kind of process. And then I think the approach of going from that to going with basically you virtually unlimited kind of amount of Lego. I can imagine that being quite overwhelming.
And sorry if I want to add that at something. And also, then the pieces that you're used to use, they're not there. It's like it's weird. It's just weird. Like you would think that they have certain pieces, like they don't. So it's just like you have to adapt and you have to overcome quick.
Yes, I think in any sense, like however like experienced of a builder you are, I think you're all kind of put in that kind of sort of level playing field where you're basically out of your comfort zone, essentially. Yeah. So another question I wanted to ask is that experience, has that really sort of changed the way that you approach the way that you build stuff at home as well, and the way you organize things?
For me, no. I keep organizing the things the same way as I used to. I did try to go and buy some of those bins, but they're expensive. I don't spend money like that. I try to. It's not a choice for me. Of course, as big as my Lego collection is going, I start like sorting differently. But for me, the sorting is exactly the same. It just, what it did spark on me, maybe it was just like the fact that, hey, I need to keep building. I need to prove people that I can do stuff.
With me, in the past, just like Michelle, I build with what I have. I don't buy off Bricklink. I now find myself purchasing off of Bricklink so I could actually build in advance. And I just started using Studio, something that I'm surprised they haven't started doing on Lego Master maybe season 4. So, so I'm grateful they didn't have that, in the cards for us this past season, because I would have been like a whatever. But yeah, ordering in bulk, like that's something that, my mocks are getting larger, I guess. That's what I'm getting at.
Yeah, absolutely. I guess I guess another thing I'd like to ask as well is how much do you find yourself like thinking about how you would build things just like in everyday life? Like if you're looking like at a building or just like everyday objects, how often are you is that sort of Lego on your mind in terms of like how you'd build something?
That was that was there for me before the show. Like I sometimes I see like I actually post a story. I swear to God, in Houston, there's a building that has like a round stud, one by a round stud. I swear, I was like, I just like it's. I think that happens to all fans of Lego, and or you see an amazing sculpture built and you think like that would be like something cool out of Lego, stuff like that. I think that didn't change after the show. It was there before.
Same. I'll sometimes just take a picture and I'm like, oh, keep that, in the back of my mind, kind of thing. So, or I'll literally have a notepad with just, ideas.
And I guess like my last kind of question would be when it comes to, I guess, because something like I feel like the Lego building community is very much a community that is in person, and you're getting to meet lots of people in real life, which is a really really valuable experience. What is it like sharing that, sharing your passion for the brick building with sort of like-minded people?
It's cool to interact with people who have similar interests. I think for me, it's more like my family who still doesn't understand Lego. My parents don't understand. I hate to say they don't watch the show. So, but when they did get to see a couple clips, they're like, I took my mother to the Lego store for the first time last fall, and her eyes were like, bing, bing. They're like overstimulated, still trying to understand everything. So, coming from a culture that does not play so much, they focus more on sports. I think that was my biggest kind of takeaway from this.
First, I didn't know there were so many people like me. I swear, I was like, I thought it was like different. I've never met before social media and Lego Masters and all of this. I've never met anybody around me that like Lego as an adult. So all of the things that I like and I enjoy, I always try to keep them to myself, because it's just like I take it out in a conversation and no one gets it. Like, what is she talking about? She's talking about toys. She's talking about like, no. So when actually Lego Master Season 1 started, that was when I started to connect with social media and discover all this world of adult fan of Lego, that even though I was a Lego fan, I did not know that there was like such a big community of adults out there who really enjoy the hobby. So actually Lego Masters, the show for me, was the thing that kind of opened those doors for me. And that's when I started to see, oh my goodness, like wow. So now that I'm part of this show, it's awesome, because now the people that know me and people back in my hometown, that Lego is not a big thing in Mexico. Well, Lego is an expensive hobby, and in Mexico, it's different. Like people barely make it to the day to day. So we cannot afford that kind of hobby, like most of us. So now being able for those people back home to see what I do it's kind of like opening a new door for them, for those little girls that, all my nieces' friends that they're watching the show because of me. Like, oh my God, like there's adults that play with like it's just a whole experience. I think that for me, it's just gonna resonate and back home, and make people know that we as an adult, as a Mexican woman, we can play with Lego and we can do pretty cool stuff.
Can I add that it could be a little intimidating? There are people that have been building since they were in the placenta. So I know that's graphic. I'm a mom, I'm sorry. So for the example, the rookies that just came in, yeah, they got a free pass. No, I'm just joking. Yo, these kids have been building since they were like peanuts, and it's just like I didn't start doing it until like less than 10 years ago. So it's a little intimidating because here they have this vast knowledge of every little article, and it's just like, what's that? Creative? Isn't that the same thing? You know what I mean? So just trying to stay up to date with everything, you know, regardless on the history, we still have that same passion. Some of us just have a lot more experience with it. That's it. So
Yeah, I think that's really kind of a hugely valuable thing. I think is just being able to share something like that where you're kind of as well, regardless of your background or how long you've been sort of working, building, I guess, is that like you're able to not you're able to share that, and also you're not having to kind of like do all the kind of explaining that you would for like everybody else. It's like everyone gets it. And something that I definitely get from like sort of hearing like you guys kind of like your behind the scenes kind of experience is that and you obviously you only get like a small sort of percentage of it from in watching the show, because obviously it's edited, but like I do generally get the impression from that like everyone really gets on, and everyone really kind of there's that passion there, and it's really kind of brings people together, doesn't it?
yeah,
And
absolutely.
yeah, the diversity that it's on the hobby. There's kids, there's like the grandpuppies, there's moms, there's firefighters, there's doctors, there's everyone, and we're all sharing the same passion, and that's awesome that they get to showcase that on TV.
Hi, it's nice to speak to you once again, and it's just a shame in the it's in these circumstances, but congratulations for getting this far into the show. I've got to say, I think this week's build was like, in terms of the actual build itself, was so strong. It's just a shame, obviously, that like it kind of broke apart. But I guess there's I guess one of the questions I was wanting to ask is like, how do you find it with the having to balance the kind of creativity and I guess like the actual concept of a build, and also the kind of having to meet the sort of criteria of each challenge?
I think it depends on the challenge because for some challenges, like take example, if we had to redo the treehouse challenge, right? It honestly it wasn't a structure challenge. Was an aesthetics challenge because they wanted to actually see things from far away and then come in and look at the details. So then we would structure how we would do our concepts and prototypes first. Like, okay, what would look good from far away? Oh, hey, a big UFO stuck in a tree.
Yeah, we totally done that.
yeah.
We talked about it afterwards. Like, man, we could have just made a cool shape and we could have still had the story. Yeah, I think just for that challenge, sorry to interrupt. I think we got focused on the stories so much, and we thought our story was strong, but we didn't focus enough on the structure and aesthetic of it. To Jon's point, every challenge was a learning experience. I think the one that really hit us the most, to be honest, was the second challenge, because we clashed a lot on that, and it's because again you're locked in this mindset on how you want to build based on your experience versus what's actually going to work for a competition, translate to like a TV set or in front of the judges, and then And it was tough for me to realign with that. And Jon would try to like, oh my God, trust me on this. And it's like, it doesn't always hit, but it's like, I'm glad he was there because he has a lot of great insight on that aspect. Because it's like, you have to have a different perspective when you're building on things. And it's not just about what you're used to building, but how can you present, can you use the skills that you have, but build something else that's presentable for what they're looking for than what you are normally used to building. So understanding, whoa, I don't have time to focus on details because like for that challenge, right, you had a bigger scale and we never worked in a bigger scale. So it's like, how do we adjust to fill up the space rather than trying to fill it with a lot of details? How the focus of the challenge is more about the scene and that rather than just making it look cool. And that was just very jarring to me. It was very jarring to me. And Jon, I'm sure Jon will be honest if you want to ask him right now, but it was very jarring to me. But that type of
it was a different style of thinking.
Yeah, and it was great because like we both kind of had that didn't clash, like we did clash, but it was definitely a lot of like having to both realize the value of both our perspectives and kind of have to combine it for what we need to do, right? And it's tough for each challenge because like some challenges we did great, some of them we focused too much, and then you make one split decision. It's like, oh man, we could have just adjusted on that. So it's a lot of it is kind of reflecting and be like, oh yeah, we could have done that instead, right? And it's harder to think of that in the moment because you're kind of default to certain
yeah. I think the learning lesson that we learned across each episode is we really have to listen to the prompts and make sure that in terms of balancing creativity and what it's supposed to deliver, like if you can just hit the right points, like it's almost like you just don't want to be in the bottom two, right? That's how you kind of get through longer, and you figure that out usually in the first like 20 minutes, like what the build is supposed to be, and you just kind of like double down until you get a pivot from the judges. Honestly, that's kind of how I think most people had to go through Lego Masters. It's just like you either double down or you pivot with the time remaining, and they all come with risks.
Yeah, and it's also cool. Like you always want to stand out too, of course, because it's always great. Yeah, you want to stand out, but you can't make that be your only focus because you can stand out. It looks great, but if it doesn't hit those prompts, then it's like, okay, you focus so much time on trying to be distinctual that you didn't devote enough time for what needed to be done. And it's all a balancing act, overuse and underuse of your skills and competencies, and you're gonna have to adjust. I feel like every team has had to adjust and realize, wait, no, we can't do this the way that we would like to do it because something else needs to be done instead.
Yeah, so yeah, that's as well. I think there's the kind of sense as well of like the pressure is always on, even if you kind of like you win, you come first place in one week. There's you're back onto the kind of level playing field of you're being judged solely on each prompt, which is always kind of keeps it always on edge. But yeah, that's my next question would be when it comes to sort of comparing doing the stuff on in your at home when you've got in your own time and everything is kind of like set up the way that you're kind of used to it being set up. What is it like going from that to going into the studio where you've just got like such the actual layout, everything's so different, and you've got this really short sort of time span.
You have to relearn all the landscape, honestly, because you'll find out that there's going to be a lot of really cool pieces, but not in the color that you want.
Yeah, there's a lot. There's such a big variety but yeah, there's certain colors that you would like to build. You realize after the fact, oh man, we already started on this. I can't complete the idea that would look best based on what I know pieces that exist, because this piece isn't here for what I need, or it hasn't been restocked yet. So it was just like there's extra elements that I don't know if a lot of people watching realize, that the brick pit isn't as unlimited or free or diverse as you think it is, right? A lot of it is working within the constraints based on the situation.
And it changes too, slightly.
Yeah.
Each episode it changes just a bit, so you can get new pieces that weren't in the previous episode, or they just swap things completely.
Right. And just learning the layout too is just like, oh man, I know this piece, I need this piece. It's just like there's a big learning process. Like, where is this piece? You spend so much time. It's like, wait, I came here to get this and I see it here, but where's the part that goes with this? Like if there's like a hinge plate or a hinge brick, it's like I have the one component. Where's the other part? I can't make a door without the other half of this hinge brick.
Luckily I was there to kind of help you out. Because I ran over and was like, where's this hinge brick? And I was like, it's right over there. And then we just kind of like cross paths.
But there's just, oh my gosh, there's
it's
so much.
Yeah,
it's very overwhelming. And when you're at home, you know where things are and you know the things that you have. But when you're somewhere else, it's just like, I don't know if we have this or not. And that was a big adjustment for everyone, not just us, but for everyone. It's just like, oh, whoa.
Yeah, like how I helped out there is that I started to kind of close my eyes and remember where each types of pieces, because eventually it becomes intuitive where the sizes and the lengths of where the pieces are located in the brick pit. It becomes more muscle memory after like about an episode or two, I think. But I held that down pack just in case like Xavier's just like, where the heck is this new piece?
Even like getting stuff restocked, you can grab so many extra pieces and you realize there's none left there because other teams may have used it, or maybe because you can't have too many trays on your table, because then it's just like, hey, now you're just hoarding all the pieces. That's a little bit unfair to everyone else. But it's like, okay, I gotta give these pieces that I don't need back. It's like, wait, was there pieces on there that I actually needed and they weren't like restocked yet? So it was just like, oh man. Like there were some times where I would try to build a frame. It's like there's totally a piece that would come in great just to reinforce it. And it's like, they don't have that piece right now.
Yeah. And then our math becomes off.
And it's just like, it's like the structure's not gonna work because I had based it on this one component that's just not there right now. So,
or not in the right color, because we're also thinking about color theory on top of that.
Yeah.
That's really interesting. I think as well with that, I guess you're having to kind of keep in mind that there's like, you always have like a plan B in terms of what you're going to build, because you're probably going into it thinking like, oh yeah, we're going to have this piece and that piece, and realizing you're running out of time, you can't find that piece, and then suddenly you've got to kind of like improvise with something else. I'm sure there's a lot of that, in play as well.
Totally.
But yeah, I guess my last question would be, if you had to pick like just like solely one sort of takeaway from the entire kind of experience, what do you think that would be?
I mean, for me,
quite a difficult question.
Yeah. I mean, I already touched on it earlier. Is just being grateful for just being there, right? Just going into the first like casting interview that we were there, I kind of like, I got overwhelmed. I kind of like broke into a little bit of tears because it was still surreal and unbelievable for me to be there, for Jon to be there with me. It's just like, this is unreal. Like it's still unreal that we've gone through this experience, because it was very overwhelming and just like, wow, like I never thought that this passion, this thing I was obsessed with, this talent, I never knew it would be recognized or valued in the way that it is, to be like, hey, we think you're great and we want people to see what you can do. And there's just something very humbling and just very grateful for just to be on that stage.
I agree with that. I think the takeaway, friends, like treat everyone with kindness and courtesy. Like we left Lego Masters friends with everyone. And, we are taking those friendships past Lego Masters. So I think I was very happy to meet more AFOLs. Like this is actually my first real AFOL group with these Lego Masters. And I could not be grateful enough. I think everyone there is pretty.
Well, yeah, thank you thank you so much for amazing contestants, and yeah, it was great to have a chance to speak to you once again. Thank you. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoy this format. There are more episodes to come. Before that, there's a few exciting things going on this channel, so stay tuned. In just a couple of days from the upload of this video, there is the deadline for holidays. If you haven't already taken part and you would like to, you should get onto that now. The deadline is the 14th of December at 11:59 EST. Just after that, there's going to be another exciting announcement by me of a certain event which takes place at the beginning of every year. And yeah, stay tuned.